about it.
Right, and now what is happening is people just don't know what the hell to believe because the government's saying one thing, the next day they change their mind, then they go and change it back. And anyway, so
Let's take the call.
yeah, I think this is Thomas Manglona. Yeah, Thomas.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Tomas.
All right, of course, you guys may know Tomas. I hope you remember him from last year. He did some work with us, some great work. And he's now back. You were going to college in the States, online classes for the rest of the year or semester or what?
Yes, that's right. So in-person classes are canceled, and I'm back here in Saipan.
How are things going up in Saipan?
You know, it's a rapidly evolving situation, just like everywhere else. There's so many updates in terms of schools, hospitals, the local government. As I was sharing with Chris yesterday over chat, the CNMI public school system just decided to end school for the rest of this for the school year, for the remainder of the school year. So that's our current situation, and the public school system is actually going to start passing out free lunches to students this Wednesday. So there's lots of efforts happening across both Tinian, Rhoda, and Saipan with regards to COVID-19.
Wow, that's some new information we didn't know about, and now that's going to get people talking here on Guam. Do we need to cancel school for the rest of the year?
Yes, I think one of the decisions that the Commissioner of Education here, Alfred Ada, decided is simply because of the social distancing, guidelines, and also because lots of students don't have laptops or any technology to take learning online. So it was about a 2-paragraph statement that the Commissioner of Education released last night. And also I reached out to the hospital to ask them about their current situation here in Saipan, because I think yesterday when I was watching the show, the press secretary on Guam, Crystal Paco, clarified that test kits sent from the CNMI are not tested on Guam, but just repackaged and sent elsewhere. And so I reached out to the hospital and got numbers back about the testing on island. And the latest information we have right now is that the Commonwealth Health Center is planning to have COVID-19 test kit abilities in late April or early May. So that's what it's looking like for the CNMI.
Wow.
So you could have positive COVID cases and you just don't know it because there's no ability to test, and you're waiting for test results tests that were sent here to be repackaged and sent off island.
That's correct. Yeah, I believe that when a case does pop up, the terminology that's being used in the CNMI is surveillance cases. So they're just surveilling to see who has cases. Right now, as you know, there's no confirmed cases, but I think it's a matter of when, not if.
So just curious, so are you guys getting results from whatever tests that have been repackaged and sent off island from here?
Yes, I believe the last. Well, I was surprised to hear Crystal Paco say that the test results were not being done on Guam, because I believe that was the impression everyone was under based on the press release that the CNMI governor released, saying that the results came back from Guam. But as it was clarified on this show yesterday, that's not necessarily the case. I think also receiving some numbers in terms of the number of beds at the hospitals on Saipan. There's about 75 beds in the hospital and just 17 ventilators. There's just one ventilator on Rhoda, and I didn't get any numbers for how many ventilators are in Tinian, if any.
Well, we're facing the same issues here, Tomas. There's a shortage of ventilators. This is something we're seeing nationally. I mean, I saw a story about how they're trying to MacGyver ventilators in the same way they're trying to MacGyver. Google it, kids, if you don't know what is MacGyver. But they're MacGyvering the masks. The healthcare workers, shortage of supplies. They're trying to find creative ways to make things happen. So, I mean, we're dealing with that. One ventilator for Rhoda. That's I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's a bit of a grim picture, but it's an honest one. And I think that, speaking with my dad and stepmom who live on Rhoda yesterday, and they decided not to go to a family friend's funeral that had more than 50 people, and decided to just pray at home and offer their condolences through the phone and video chat. And I think that's the new reality that's setting in, especially for a community like Rhoda that might be more susceptible with not as good of an infrastructure as the other islands.
Wow, I'm still speechless.
Yeah.
So how many tests have been conducted? Do you know?
My understanding is that it's about a handful. I don't have the exact number at hand. I just know that, of course, we still remain with no confirmed cases. I think another thing that is catching the attention of folks here is that business operations now are restricted to 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. The governor released a directive, and I think similar to Guam, there's still a few people who might not be heeding these directives. Yesterday, when my cousin went to pick up some takeout food, one restaurant was still hosting in person at the table customers, and all of our churches here also went completely online. And I think with or without COVID, so the reason why they went online is because they had several priests returned from a retreat in the Philippines, and so public masses are now all online until the 28th of this month. And so the priests are self-isolating now, and I think another new development is that effective March 23rd, so as of yesterday, everyone, whether you're a CNMI resident or a tourist, is under a 14-day consecutive day mandatory quarantine, and we understand that is happening at several, one or two hotels. One of the hotels that I know of that it's happening at is Century Hotel here on Saipan. So whether you're a tourist or a CNMI resident, you're going to be brought to these facilities or these hotels to self-isolate from the airport.
Wow, I'm still back at, they've limited business hours, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Saipan. Is this throughout the NMI, Tomas? Is this also Tinian and Rhoda too?
Yeah, so the governor released an amendment to the directive stating that. I can pull it up to make sure that the information, I'm not sure if it's just applied to weekdays or weekends, but it's definitely the new case that people are adjusting to here.
Right, yeah, we just had a comment. The Guam Department of Education, this is from Sam, should follow our neighbors' lead. They're taking action before they get positive patients. Stop the spread, stay home. Now, just to be clear, there's been no announcement from our Department of Education here on Guam that they plan on resuming classes. I think they haven't even got there yet. We just went through our, as you know, Tomas, the governor extended the public health emergency for another 14 days yesterday.
Yes, it's like everyone's calling it a new reality, and I think especially for the public school system, this might be the best practice. It's also something that a lot of students and families are disappointed about and, of course, concerned because there's still a lot left of this school year. Mm-hmm. I think, though, and they released a survey asking parents to fill out whether or not they have a stable internet connection or technology available to use it. I don't think I need to point out that folks with no internet and no technology cannot fill that survey out. So I think that in terms of supporting students completely online, it's almost impossible to do with our current situation.
I mean, even on Guam, Tomas, we've got so many children and families living in poverty here that every public school student gets free meals from the public schools. So, I mean, if we can't even afford to buy these kids lunch, I think it's a stretch to assume that everybody's got internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chris, is it okay if I read to you the amendment to the directive that was actually sent out with regards to business hours?
How many pages is it, Tomas?
I just want to make sure, it's just a line or two. So it says, effective today, all businesses that have facilities open to the general public shall only be open to the public from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Outside of those hours, businesses may operate but may not be open to the general public. That is the directive. It's a two-page directive that was added on to the original executive order that the governor signed.
Well, and so our governor here on Guam has closed the beaches and parks. We're going to talk about that later. And she also had alluded to, and this is just banks, because that's kind of what I asked about. She had said that there may be a situation where they ask banks, and I'm assuming other businesses that are allowed to be open, to completely close. So, my feeling, do we want to just do that now and get it over with and, hunker down? Or because I feel like there's a lot of, and we talked about this, governor closes the parks and beaches, but then there's that exception where, if you're going to go running or hiking the beach, then you can go. I think people just need to know, is it closed or is it not? And when you start allowing people some wiggle room, we're seeing what happens is they're going to wiggle.
Yeah, I think, that definitely speaks to maybe a message that's not unified across sectors. I think definitely needing to hear every day what the update is, even if the update is there's no update. I think it's important to hear it.
Right.
There's also cases here that I saw yesterday. It was on the front page of the local media about price gouging that's happening here in the islands. There was one report of a bottle of hand sanitizer being sold for $10 at one store. And as you know, there's a price freeze in effect for the CNMI since the emergency was declared. So lots of moving parts and lots of anxiety on the part of the people living here, of course, justified.
All right. Well, thanks, Tomas, for checking in with us. I think we'll check in with you a little more because I think it's important for people here and people over there to know what's going on. So thank you so much. And be safe.
Yeah, and you keep in touch. You got our numbers. Let us know what's going on there.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
All right. There you go. Thomas Manglona. Man, a lot